Hey guys, welcome to Comics Cast. I'm Joe Tolliver. Right now, I'm just gonna hang out a little bit, see who wants to come on and chat. We're gonna have Mike Oden on, successful indie comic publisher, writer. He's made some great teams throughout the years. He's coordinated with us with so much stuff. Looking forward to working with him in the future. But today is the process. We're talking about the process. So, what is the process? The process is all about talking to creators who I thought I was going to go solo for a minute, but Mike's on. So let me do a quick introduction, and he'll just jump right in. All right. So I talked about Mike Oden. He's no stranger to this channel. We'll pop him in just a second. But yeah, he's from Nine Realms Publishing. We're going to talk about his process about making indie comics and the process of going about, which is specific to this show, is the process to how do you promote the book? How do you go about going on the indie campaigns? All right. How do you do that? How do you specifically do that? I think that's going to be a lot. Hey, what's up, Marius? Hey, Allison. All right. So I appreciate you guys being on the show. I want you guys on. I want you guys to ask questions. If you're new to the process, this show is all about teaching you guys little very specific things about how to be successful in the indie market. So go ahead and help me out, share it out. This is on YouTube as well as Facebook. So if you're on YouTube with me, thank you very much. Comment from YouTube, help that algorithm out. That's going to be where we get a little bit of moneymaker, a little bit of cheese in the pocket. But really the focus is right now is on the process, teaching you guys those things. So as we build, we're moving towards which Mike knows well about because he's one of our first guys that got on the ground floor with us, is that app. So we're building that streaming service that's going to provide you guys 100+ comics for a very small amount of money that you guys can read at a digital basis, and later on we'll be able to download or get books shipped to you. So I'm excited to have Mike Oden with us today. We're going to go through his process. It'll be fun, and I'm going to learn some for sure because I haven't run a campaign. He knows it. He knows what to do. So let's just pull him in. All right, and he doesn't want to be on camera for some reason. I'll give him a little bit of shade about it here in a second. Hey, Mike.
It's not that I don't want to be on camera. It is that my internet has been throwing a temper tantrum the past few days and has decided that if I go on camera, I am not going to be able to talk without getting booted from the stream every 5 seconds.
Fair enough. I think I saw you on a stream at some point. You were going in and out, and that's happened in the past. But awesome. All right. Well, welcome to the show. I'm digging that we can see the Embrace cover on your logo there. So that's nice. That
yes,
might be
yes.
a part of it.
It's I mean, if you're not going to be able to show your face, at least make the image there sexy. So
Yeah. Regrettably, I just put up, because I'm going to start doing a comic review show with some indies. I could not put up your actual book because I've got digital copies. So at some point, I need to get your physical copy. I don't know why I didn't buy anything. So I'm going to have to fix myself here pretty quick.
I mean, I'll be happy to say, I know that you backed the Embrace and what have you, but I mean, I've got some extras of Elysian Fields.
So right now the Embraces hasn't been shipped out yet. Is that where we're at?
Yes.
Okay.
I just announced it last night. We were having some printer issues for a hot minute.
Okay.
Our printer was getting hit by Murphy's Law. Like every 5 seconds, something was going wrong, and he was having to have repairmen come in and fix the printer and what have you. But he just sent me a video yesterday. They're finishing up the print run here today. Should be shipped. And here within the week. And so we will be getting the Embrace out to people very shortly. It's one of those things where the book's been done for ages.
Somebody's getting a knock on the door. Are we going to lose you? All right. I think you might have left.
Security Hold on, that's the little guy. Give me a sec.
All right, guys. So we are going to be talking specifically about the process. So we're going to work our way into it. I'm going to, at some point, look down and start sharing this out. I hope you guys are sharing it out. I want to make sure it gets on as many eyes as possible. I'm checking my Comics Cast now. So I'm glad that this is moving around. All right. Let's see here. At least share it to
Sorry, guys.
Boom. Share away.
Little guy's been sick, and so I told him that if he needed something, he can knock on the door and what have you.
Oh,
He's
of
out with
course,
his
yeah.
grandpa right now.
Yeah, and that was the reason why we got a little bit. I kind of went rogue and kind of went on my own, starting it up. Typically, I'd like to get you guys on, but obviously, family's got to come first. Things happen. It is what it is.
Of course.
But anyway, so did you have a chance to watch the last episode of the process?
So what? Sorry
That's
about
not a
that,
trick
Joe.
question. That's not a trick question. It's fine if you haven't. This is the second episode, so the process is all about you guys being able to focus on. And we haven't talked much. Just so everyone in the audience, yeah, we haven't talked much about this show other than saying, "Hey, I need you to come on to do X, Y, and Z," and he was like, "Cool." So I really want to focus on asking you questions about the process of starting up a campaign and running through a successful campaign, from your thought process to when you start it, to how do you think your way through setting up the website, running Indiegogo versus maybe Kickstarter, and then how do you set up sort of the website? Like, what are the do's and don'ts as you kind of go through the process?
So I predominantly use Indiegogo, so most of my expertise is going to be there.
Yeah.
I did one Kickstarter, and we came very close to funding. I think we were $90 short.
And when we say that, guys, so just if you guys aren't tracking, I'm gonna bring up
and of course
his successful Indiegogo campaign. So this is the Embrace, which was over 15,000, and then I believe your Elysian Fields was around 6,000.
No, so each of our Elysian Fields book crossed 8K. The Zero issue was pushing to 9, and the set Pyramid Gambit was around mid 8s. So when it comes down to prep, especially for Indiegogo, the big thing is to properly utilize your mailing list. And that's really what this comes down to is, your pre-marketing for your campaign to build up your mailing list, and then using the mailing list to build up hype, send out emails, let people know that stuff's going on. The other big thing is, of course, planning out your first week of campaigning. When it comes down to crowdfunding, presence is everything. And your first week, you need to be on at least 2 to 3.
So he's going in and out. So 2 to 3 shows. I meant, yeah. So 2 to 3 shows a day. Are you talking about the streaming shows like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
At minimum, I would say you need to be out there. Joe knows that I go a bit overboard when I'm on when I'm in the first week of a campaign. I'm on average 5 shows a day.
All right. So 2 questions before you go forward. One, how do you build those relationships? Because you don't want to wait until you're shooting your campaign. How do you build those relationships? Where do you go to build those? And then the second one is if you can go into your mailing list. Marius is asking, what mailing list do you use?
So Indiegogo actually allows you to create a pre-launch page where people can sign up directly to the mailing list of your campaign, and so that's what I use. Okay. They provide you a CSV chart of all the people that sign up. You send out emails and what have you, and that's how I keep my mailing list informed.
We lost him again. Okay, so the second part is, so that's the mailing list. How do you start building up those relationships? Where have you gone in the past?
Twitter is a massive place for a lot of that, with getting in touch with other promoters, getting in touch with other members of the community who will recommend you to other promoters. Groups like Comics Cast on Facebook and what have you. There are a lot of independent creator groups that'll point you in the right direction in terms of other promoters and what have you. And I mean, the other big thing that's important to take into account is that, while there are a lot of promoters out there, it's not a guarantee that they'll be able to get you on their show, or they might look at your project and it might not fit their brand. And so one thing that I have to stress, because it's something that I've seen a lot of people come into this industry and get burned because of this, is no promotional.
I love how he freezes up when it's something really big. No promotional what?
No, sorry, my internet is really having issues today, and I genuinely don't know what to do. I've reset the router like 3 times. So it's probably going to be a call to Verizon. But the big thing is that you, as a creator, no one is entitled to a spot on a promoter show. And furthermore, it's not up to a promoter to sell your book. It's up to you. And this is something that I have seen a lot of over the past year and a half that I've been in this, where I see guys all the time. I won't put any names out, but I see it all the damn time, where you'll have these guys, they'll come into the industry, they'll get on a few bigger
shows, and then expecting the bigger streams.
Like they'll be like, oh well, why didn't you guys help me more? Why didn't you guys do this? And they'll go and they'll freak out and they'll lash out at the community and what have you. And the fact of the matter is that it's not up to anyone to sell your book other than you.
Well, yeah, and I think that's one of the things that you're really good at. And I'm sorry, I know you know what I'm doing, but to everyone's watching at home, I am just sharing it out. So that's always the challenge, is being. I mean, I'll speak from my side. It's how many shows do you have and how much help do you have, right? So how many employees do you have? So we had one show up till this point for a while, because we were focusing on that next stage, building the app, building the brand, as you well know. The concern when you have less shows is that you have a calendar that's full. So that's where, from my side, if you have a campaign coming up, reach out sooner rather than later, so we can schedule you and make sure that we can focus on you as much as we can. If not, we're like, well, I can't do it next week. I can't do it, freaking, 2 weeks from now, because I'm booked for 3 months. So that would be one of my coming from the other end of that conversation. Make sure you're watching for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Allison McGlone is giving me the advice on how to reset. I unfortunately can't. If I walk back out there right now, my kid's gonna freak out.
Yep. All right, we got art from Victor Medina, Victor Medina was on our show last week. Excited for this episode. Can't wait to learn from Mike. Yeah, he's a beast artist, man. If you haven't employed him or looked at him yet, he's incredible.
Yeah, I definitely will have to take a look. I have been kind of removed from things because of personal stuff, and trying to make sure that the Embrace gets out to people. And
you're in selling mode right now. You're not in production mode.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things where Marius Lane Rionico is saying is best to schedule months in advance. I see. You don't necessarily have to be months in advance to schedule it, but you need to be able to get your platform. You need to be able to have the hype train rolling and have people coming in and taking a look at stuff. I have certain.
He has certain gems of wisdom.
Campaign building. Never launch a campaign with less than 25% of the book done, because you want at least 5 pages of interior artwork on the campaign. Hold on, little guy. Give me a second.
And that's actually pretty interesting that I'd love to sort of dig into a little bit. So he says to make sure you have those images. You want to have some of the book finished, right? Part of that challenge is if you don't have the book finished at all, you can be purchasing or having those investors, right? Your backers, your investors into your business, into your comic. And now they're waiting for your book for 5, 6, 7, 8 months. Exactly. So it's just not a good system. Plus, kind of a good segue into, you want to have content for your campaign, right?
Bingo. Well, The big thing that rule does is it showcases that the book is actively being worked on. There is pages produced and what have you.
Yeah. Wow. You're gonna
That
make this a
expedite.
challenge for me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
like
Keep going.
expedite the process of production when the funds come in, because that's the whole point. Is you're crowdfunding. A lot of people understand that when you're crowdfunding, you're effectively looking, especially if you are the guy that is, that you just wrote the book and you're hiring the other talent in the book, that a lot of this money is going to be going towards finishing the production of the book,
Right.
so there is that kind of understanding right off the bat.
All right. So, question: how do you choose what part to use to release hook your audience? Like as you go through, and I imagine it's different for every story, every concept of your books that you're pushing.
That's actually a fantastic question. And there's a funny story with that. So when I was trying to teach myself how to write comic scripts and everything, I had taken this one film script class through what was it? One of those services that's like the you pay like $14 for a class on this, that, the other. That I had a lot of positive experiences with other classes before. And so I took this one guy's class, and he was like the most pretentious human being on the face of the planet. I freaking hated it. But the one worthwhile thing that I learned from that class was writing your pitch, writing your hook.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so effectively how he went about that is the key to writing.
This is I'm actually a little, this is kind of getting comical because every single time you freeze up, you're like,
pitch,
hey,
the key
the
to
key.
writing.
Okay. So back up to the key.
All right,
You
the key.
already
No,
said the
I
key
know.
is.
I noticed. I'm paying attention. So every single time your face, Joe, freezes, I just stop.
Okay, good.
So
all right.
I didn't carry on. So the key to writing a good pitch or hook is you need to be able to write two sentences that encompass everything that your story is thematically. Because the whole point of a pitch,
it's the pitch.
the whole point of an elevator pitch is to be able to give it within the time it takes for a floor to change on the elevator.
Yeah.
So like that's what it is. So like if you can summarize the entirety of your project in 2-3 sentences that takes you 45 seconds to get out, that's
the goal.
Your gold spot. And so that's what that you get, Oh man, JD Troop. I haven't seen him in a hot minute. So Saeed Sabah says, what's the minimum work do you recommend for the page? I guess I'm going to have to ask what he means by that exactly.
Thanks.
And
I can't believe we got Draw and Talk on the show. Just for I have to just have a moment of like nerd out. Like before we started all this, I was watching Draw and Talk like, oh my God, he's great. Like a YouTube guy,
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
he's got an actual platform or something.
It's like he's like a real like star or something. And now it's like, oh, we're sort of just kind of doing this thing, and it's just funny. Life is funny about that. Anyway, keep moving, man. Keep moving forward. You're good. All right, we got another question coming from what is the minimum work you do to recommend on each page before you
so Saeed clarified the art for the book as far as Saeed's question. The minimum that I recommend is 25% of your story needs to be completed. So like if you have a 25 page book, like no less than 5 pages needs to be done of that. Always on the important parts. The internet gods are sabotaging us. Yeah, I'm sorry. it's been a fight the past few days. I don't know what's going on.
It's no worries. We were totally roll with it. All right. So I think we need to make sure that we're rolling along. I try to keep this to an hour.
Yeah.
So we've rolled in. We understand the pitch. I think the pitch also sort of should. It's kind of like writing a story, right? So everything when you write a story, and I'm talking to a story writer. So this is sort of back and forth with you. You guys can listen to this, but this isn't the point of the process, right? So when you write a story, everything, all the character motivation, all the development should still kind of feed back to that understanding of what your core premise of your story is.
Correct.
So as you start going into building the website, building the campaign, are you going back to that elevator pitch? Are you going back to the core value of what it is that you're trying to communicate? Or do you find yourself sort of, or do you advise others to sort of go for more flash just to get attention? Like, is it a combination? What are you looking for?
It's all about the flash, man. Like when it comes down to it, that I try to have the majority of my writing in the middle of a campaign page, because it's useful for shows like this where you go on and you're talking about your project and what have you, and you're going through and you're kind of read it and you're explaining stuff and they're actually taking the time to look at it. But most people, they're just going to be scrolling through their phone and looking for the art. And so that's where again, that it's so important to have. You can have a guy have like fantastic cover work and the interiors turn out to be crap. And that's the other thing is like, you can pull that once, you can pull that campaign once, but once that project gets out there to people and they aren't happy with it,
right,
you're not going to be able to fund again.
Yeah, and that's the flash of that cover, getting a good cover artist and being like, well, that's my book, pay for it. And everyone pays for it. And then they open it up and they're like, these are all undynamic, sort of flat, underwhelming art, with potentially bad writing on top of that. So there is definitely, you want a quality book. And then just, and that goes to like, if you are working on a book and you're cutting corners, just decide, what corners are worth cutting, because in the long run, what you're saying is you're going to be pushing, you're not going to be developing new fans.
Bingo.
You're going to be losing your old ones as well.
Correct. Proof of concept is important. Getting the book out there is important. But if you get the book out there and it's a steaming pile of shit, nobody wants it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's saying I should maybe in the future, what I'm going to do is I'll have a little segment of Bugs Bunny or something like that, just sort of like playing in the foreground as I wait for you to come back.
Just clip some Looney Tunes shit for every single time that my internet dies.
Perfect. All right, so this is good stuff though. Let's go. Choo-choo, the train is rolling. All right, so we've talked about that. Now, when I say that, I mean like, it needs to be quality. That's a big part of it, right? Now, obviously, we know that on Indiegogo and Kickstarter, I know we're going to focus on Indiegogo, but generally, really big names do really, really well on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. Right. A lot of people that have made either controversy or they're just big names, they'll do pretty well. The reason why I'm excited about having you on is because you're a grinder like everybody else. You're putting in the time, and you're having success at a level that I think other people can strive to develop their campaigns to reach, which is, I mean, you're way above average, but let's just say, it's attainable. So
yes, absolutely.
So so the key thing that I'm going to ask you is just to keep it going, but you can always go to what you were about ready to say, is launching into building that website. Like going from, now you have all the books, you've got images. What are the elements you're going to do before you launch? Like, do you want to reach out and get extra covers? Do you want to get artwork from people? Do you want to get testimonials that people that know your publishing company? Like, how does that work before you launch?
As far as what I do, getting ready to launch, the big thing, and this is something that I had mentioned earlier, is planning out your streams. Okay. Mm-hmm. Like recognizing, okay, what streaming platform, like the most important thing is what streaming platform am I going to launch on? Like you have to pick a place where launching on there is going to guarantee you a pretty solid start. Your first 24 to 48 hours are integral to setting the pace of your campaign. Your first week is going to be so crucial, and setting the tone of the launch is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that properly, if you're able to get funded in the first day, especially on
Indiegogo. Funded on the first day, it's pretty sick. I don't know how many people have done that. But yeah, go ahead. You're good.
And of course, every single time you hit another 100% on Indiegogo, the algorithm plays into that. It pushes your campaign farther. And so that's the whole thing is, if you can get to 200% of your funding goal in the first week, that's awesome. Now, what I will say is that doesn't mean that you should set your funding goal for something super low either, because I see a lot of guys do this. Like, I'm just going to play the Indiegogo algorithm. Don't do that, because then it's like, okay, cool. You made your $500 and you might've been able to like quadruple that, but eventually it's going to get to a point where you plateau. And if people see that you've already funded, they're not going to be and that you're already across the finish line.
Right.
They're going to put their focus on something else. You don't want to sell yourself short.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and then Martis asked a question about this too before we go on to the next part. Getting that 100%, 100 plus on Indiegogo turns you somewhat of an Indiegogo algorithm celebrity, like almost on the front page of that page, depending on how much you make. But yeah, you don't want to go too low, or people are like, well, you've already been funded.
Yeah.
It costs me so much money. I can only back so many people. I can only bring so many books to the table. So what you were kind of leading towards is that concept of, well, now I just want more money. And then that can put a bad taste in people's mouth as well, because some people just want the books. I would love to get Nine Rail Publishing books. I don't mind backing you, because we're friends. We work together. There's going to be future publishing that we'll do together. It's going to be great. And there's some others that I'd like because I know them personally. But if you want to build a bigger fan base, not everybody's want to spend $35-$40 for a book and some swag. So that's a challenge, the big one for me, because there's only so much money.
And I think that you hit the nail on the head there. This is one of the unfortunate things when it comes down to crowdfunding, is the model really only lends itself for that startup. I honestly think, especially for those of us that aren't big names, our goal needs to be that by the time we hit our first 5 years, did platforms, because and made our books more affordable, more approachable. LC make it something that LCSs can get a hold of.
Yeah. So almost making a splash to the point where you can prove that your stuff is marketable. I want to say I just saw a post from you recently that you're getting on store shelves as well now. So you spent those first little while on these campaigns, and now you've sort of transitioned over. Is that true? Is that how that's kind of going in that direction?
That's my goal. Is I want to get us to a point where we have a Nine Realms website where people can buy the back catalog of our books. We already have some things kind of playing that role via our Patreon. We've got a lot of things set up to really get us moving past crowdfunding. And that's not to say that we won't use crowdfunding for like special event things. Like, let's say, the Embrace is a mini series. So once the Embrace finishes up, absolutely do a big crowdfunding event to get like the entire collection of the Embrace together in a single book, and what have you, in like a super pristine collector thing. But that's
just don't wait until you have 60 or 70 books, because nobody can afford that. I wanted Invincible, and I was looking at those books. I was like, I'm not reading all that. I can't. I will be having a second mortgage put on my house to be able to just buy the Invincible books. That's a challenge. But no, I mean, it's a legit thing. And you're working in a lot of different ways. And not to plug Comics Cast here, because that's not the point of the show. But, as we move forward into this new streaming service that we're building, you were one of the first ones on the ground floor saying, hey, sign me up. I'm going to definitely help you guys out. So that's a huge thank you from me, and where we're going with this. So, I mean, just being flexible with your IP, I think you are probably a really good example of that, looking at different ways that you can market. Because right now, I think a lot of people are looking at Indiegogo, and I see you guys on the comments. I'm going to pull you guys up just a minute. Yeah. But Indiegogo, the campaigns, I want to teach guys how to do that. I want to make sure people are successful at it, but I do have a feeling that it is a unattainable, sustainable. It's not sustainable. And for what you said, you don't want to keep going back into the well, back into the well, back into the well. You want to use that maybe 6-year plan, get a few books out there, get your name out there, be successful, move forward, and use that as what it really is meant to be, which is a Kickstarter, Indiegogo, to help people back you as a producer, as a publisher, and not necessarily for purchasing books. So I love that. That's your mindset.
And that's the whole thing is, again, the plan has to be growth, and there's a certain point in crowdfunding, especially when you're at this level that I'm at and what have you, where you kind of you hit a wall of backers, where you're starting to, you're no longer seeing growth of backers. You're just seeing a line maintained, which isn't a bad thing. And especially in this industry, comic book success here over the past 10 years is, well, how much of a drop did you have? If you had less than a 30% drop in sales, you're doing pretty good. Because generally what happens is that you have people fall off as you go between books. But in the crowdfunding market, I would say that the measure of success is, are you maintaining backers? And if you're able to grow, it bumps up a little bit. But growing your platform as an indie creator cannot just be done on a single crowdfunding platform. It just can't. There's too much divisions on it. So to me, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, whatever you want to use, it can only be the ground floor. You have to be looking for ways to break out of that and get into stores or allow yourself an online marketplace so that people can purchase direct from you, et cetera, et cetera. So that way that the content's continuously paying for itself, obviously, but that you're that you're able to grow past whatever platform you started on. And I see Marius's question: Did I study the market like Indiegogo contents before beginning writing on your books? No, and that's actually one of the big weaknesses of how I started. And this is the big learning lesson for me, is when I did Elysian Fields issue 0. I was so excited that I found the artist that I did. I was so excited with the feedback I had gotten on my script that I immediately launched as soon as I had like 2 or 3 pieces of character art. This is my Elysian Fields issue 0 campaign is like the fluke campaign of, it shouldn't have done as well as it did, but because I ramped up my promotion, because I ramped up everything that I did at the 11th hour and what have you, and kind of figured it out as I was running, I was able to pull off. And it's not a model that I would use for anyone to be like, yes, this is the basis of how you should do anything. It was a comedy of errors that turned out in my favor.
All right, let's go down the questions. Let's see here. I think this might be a question. Oh, wait, I'll go to Saeed here. I have heard in market things to sell well before. I've heard you have to market. Yeah.
That is
correct.
That is 100% true.
All right. So Justin asked a separate question. How much money is an average to spend on a campaign across different social media? Hundreds of dollars, thousands?
None.
You feel any traction?
You should not be wasting your money on ad space across any platform. Okay. This is my whole thing. And it's why I stopped using Facebook for a hot minute for promotion, is because Facebook actively makes it makes it very difficult for independent creators to promote their content if you aren't purchasing their ad space, if you aren't doing any of that. But like when I was initially starting in, I could go and I could share a post of my campaign to literally hundreds of different independent publishing groups across Facebook in a matter of like 2 minutes, you know,
Wow.
and I'd be able to do that very easily and make sure that I wasn't double posting on pages. So I wasn't breaking community rules, et cetera, et cetera. Well, they took away that feature.
Yeah.
Now I have to post it. I have to share that post individually as an individual. And when they did that, I got very annoyed because I knew exactly why they were doing it.
Right. They wanted you to start purchasing the advertisement and to push it.
But the fact of the matter is even if you play with the Facebook marketing algorithms through their paid ad space, you are not the people that they are going to get that to. They're going to get you clicks. They're going to boost your Facebook analytics, but it is very rare from what I have seen for that to be converted. For those to be converted to genuine customers. It's just going to be people that click a like on your link. They might go to the page, but the fact of the matter is it's not worth spending the like $20 a month to boost your post across Facebook.
Yeah. So how do you so clarify exactly how you go about fixing that funnel system to being a purchasing power?
Exactly. I cannot recommend anyone use any of that. Like it's a waste of your money. It's a waste of your time. Just go out there and do it yourself. Because again, it comes back to nobody can sell your book like you. I also see Saeed Sabah in the comments saying that he bought Elysian Fields on Indiegogo. It's an awesome book. Thank you so much. Like it's genuinely good to hear love for that series and the feedback. The feedback that we've gotten on all of our books so far has been great, and I cannot thank you guys enough for supporting me.
So deep down though, the bottom line is get in front of cameras yourself and sell your book. Is that how you found success on this?
Yeah, I mean, you like at the end of the day, the best marketing tool is yourself. Going on streams, interacting with community in the chat. I mean, like what we're doing right now, like, yeah, you're interviewing me, you're asking me these questions, but so are they. You know, they're getting to know me as a person. And when they see that, you're no longer just a guy pitching their comic book. You're somebody that they've talked with. There's somebody that they now have a little bit of an insight into who you are as a person. And that makes them want to support you even more, especially if you aren't an asshole.
Right. Which it happens.
Yes.
I think we've both been in the game long enough. You come across them. I'd like to think that most people are pretty genuine. And if somebody doesn't come across like that, it's pretty obvious. But I'll be the first one to admit, hey, I got blindsided by a couple of guys. So I thought they were good. It didn't work out so well. But
I mean, same here, man. We all kind of fall for traps here or there. People that claim to want the things that we want, and then all of a sudden, like 5 seconds later, it becomes very clear that that's not really the case, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because it makes you kind of wonder if sticking around is worth it at times, because you'll be like, man, I really thought that this person was a stand-up guy. I really thought that this person was good, and I spent a lot of time trying to help him, and then
yeah, and then they surprise you. I'll just finish your sentence. They surprise you and get you off your game, and you just got to move on and make that decision. You know, be angry for 2 seconds and move on. You just got to let it go. I have seen some, not to dwell on that. I'll just add one more comment. I have seen people sort of ride that drama train a little bit. They want to build that, maybe use it as a way of getting clicks, getting interest. And I will say that a good buddy of mine, I respect his work ethic, but we went in 2 different directions. There was like, hey, I want to make it controversial. I think that's how we can make clicks. And I said, I understand that. But what I'm doing here, what we are doing as Comics Cast, is building relationships. And I would rather build relationships with IP owners that trust us and respect us than finding ways to get more views. because what we're doing is building those relationships for that Comics Cast platform that we're building in the future. So it's easy to go the drama route, but does that help funnel people into purchasing your book? And that's the challenge. Some people have been very successful with the creating conflict and selling content.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, that's
it's
the unfortunate truth of it, is that there is a lot of people that they are just like, their book can be absolute garbage, but the fact that they cause drama and entertain people in streams, that's where they get the money that they do.
Yeah. So there's a balance, is what I'm saying. You're talking about being on a lot of streams. What kind of stream personality, human being element do you want to connect with your future buyers? And that'll say a lot, I think, to who you are. And again, I don't judge people that make the drama to get clicks. That's perfectly fine with me. It doesn't bother me at all. No judgment.
It's a sound business strategy, but I don't think that it has the longevity that those people because at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, how long are you going to be able to ride the drama train before people realize that your books aren't good?
Exactly. Yeah. How many times can you go back to the drama to the drama? What is it? The watering hole? That's not what I want to say. Anyway, moving on. All right. So yes, relationships equal trust, equal money. I think at the end of the day, that's a big thing. It's a big thing for me as far as with IP owners, because I respect what you guys have, what you guys have created, and all I'm here to do is to make you guys successful. So any success I have is all about making the community successful. All right. So Justin said, I agree with that. Most of the money success that has come from interacting face to face, my booth at Comic-Con. So
yeah,
sort of transitioning that, what you're more talking virtual, right? Mm-hmm. And we're mainly talking about campaigns here, but everything ties into everything, right? So
100%. And that goes into I've only been able to do virtual. I started here in the last year and a half, while the pandemic was going. And so cons weren't really a thing.
Oh yeah, when the pandemic was going on,
few months,
yeah,
where I can. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, you're
now
good.
Now that conventions are back, I'm not really in a position where I can go to them until after the end of the year. So like my hope is that in the next year that I'm going to a lot more conventions, because that is a massive source of not only revenue, but expansion of your market. You get to have more interactions with your fans. Now, Roy Mercado is asking me, you said you are primary on Indiegogo. Is the site selection a factor to your success? Maybe yes, maybe no. Like definitely, I found my target audience predominantly over on Indiegogo, and that's fine. But what it comes down to is, because I've been on Indiegogo and because I have the audience over there, I have studied how the algorithm works. I've studied how the successful campaigns work over there. And so that's what I do. Like one of the other big reasons I don't go for Kickstarters, I have some personal issues with how certain things are handled on their platform. And I don't find the UI to be especially conducive when setting up your campaign. I felt that Indiegogo was like so easy a caveman could do it as far as setting up my campaign. And then I went over to Kickstarter and I felt like I had to learn a completely different language. And that's the whole thing. And, like my Kickstarter that I did for Elysian Fields, we came very close to our funding goal. It sucks that we didn't make it. At the end of the day, we were able to do what we were able to do over there. And I think that, I could have, we definitely could have funded had I not dropped off the face of the earth while we were in the middle of campaigning, because I was going through some personal stuff.
Right.
But you've got to do what you got to do in life.
Exactly. All right. So let's get into the physical building of the web page. What are we looking at for a successful page to launch well, to be seen, to not have to get tweaked 100 times? And I could pull up a page if you want, but if we could just walk through it. I think most people have kind of got an understanding, and this is for guys that are looking to launch on Indiegogo. Let's just focus on that. So as you prepare for your Indiegogo campaign? What are you initially doing on that page?
As far as design on the page is concerned, big bold letters to separate between interior art tiers. Like whenever you want to draw somebody's attention to something, you should always have like big bold letters. Like if you scroll down on the Embrace page and you look at the campaign, you'll notice that like there's so much if you
How do I
have
get
to
into it?
continue reading because it's a closed campaign.
I know. Yeah, I've never been to. Here we go. Okay, good. There we go. All right.
So like notice, our elevator pitch when you scroll down is in bold and italicized so that it draws people to the eyes. You have the interior pages preview, which I have as a title page font. And then as you scroll down, you just got art after art piece after art piece. You've got our interior pages are up there. We made sure that we chose pages that really showcase everything that our book was about while being like the most visually compelling that we had at the time. It really showcased what we were doing. You look at the creative team there, and all of the names of the creative team are boldened. We have our character page to kind of showcase our characters.
Yep.
Like again, so much visual. Like everything is visual, and Indiegogo allows you a lot of free reign for the visual component.
Right.
And so you're silly if you aren't using it.
One of the things I notice here is a lot of people put their pinups and a lot of their big sort of look at me art at the top. So you're going through like all their star cover artists and all that sort of stuff before you almost ever see any interiors.
Yeah, and I think that that's a mistake. I think that it is so important because at the end of the day, you could really piss somebody off. Pardon my French. I know that this is a PG-13 stream.
I appreciate it. That's about as adult as we get. So I think, thank you.
But the whole thing with this is that, again, it goes back to why are you promoting the cover art and not the interior? Why are you promoting all this stuff that could be so wildly different to what is actually in your book? And that's the whole thing. Is all of that stuff is great. All of the extras are fantastic. That's all nice. But people are here to see something specific, and so we really want to make sure that people come in for the product, not for all the other extra crap. Like the extra crap is there to help seal the deal, get more, give people opportunity for more variety. That's what you do. But yeah, and thank you so much. We've got Marius is saying that the campaign gives him Serious the Darkness vibes. There's definitely a little bit of Jackie Estacado in the design element there when Dean and I were talking about.
Well, Nargis said something. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I'm completely new. Hey, we're just talking about how to go about campaigning, building it up. Feel free to watch this from the beginning. We sort of are a little bit knee deep into it. We've got about 12 minutes left. But we just went down kind of like the web page layout. And with you, what's kind of cool about once you got to the Embrace, you already had a few comics under your belt. So you'd already shown that you can finish books, you can get them out. But also part of the reason I love having you on the show, and I'm just going to keep saying this, is that, you're not losing fans as you go. You're developing new ones. You're getting more people because each one of your campaigns made increasingly more money, which is, I would like to say, is congratulations to you for your success. But also, I love that you're not like, well, I just want to make as much money as I can. You're working on more books actively in probably 3 different areas: sci-fi, I know you were working on some IPs that were sort of questionable if it was copyright was moving in your direction. I love that. Like, you were pushing so many different avenues and knocking on so many doors because you just love this stuff. So I think that comes through.
Absolutely. And people can always tell if you're just I'm going to be done in just a few minutes, little man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Royce, he's talking about the swag tears, baby. Yep.
Yeah.
She's not sick anymore.
You're the one that's sick, you little goon. I'm
all right. 9 minutes. 9 minutes.
Give me just a few minutes and then we can go outside, okay? All right.
All right. Dead air time. I think we might have lost him. Not sure. All right. Guys, ask the questions. Know that we've got 10 minutes left, so I want you guys to ask away. Ask your questions now. Anything you've come across, or if you're working with a buddy of yours, ask your questions, and we'll make sure they get on the show. But I think we've covered a lot of content, so I'm going to let you push to the end because I think you know more than I do. I couldn't even begin to ask you some of the right questions.
I mean, I guess another big thing that we didn't really talk about is videos. Videos are a very good tool. Yeah, she's riding her bike. Do you want to join her out there?
I am. If we want to talk about real life, I'm sitting in a garage. So I moved from a 5-bedroom to a 3. So I had to set up a brand new set out here. And it's a little chilly. So I'm going to have to figure that out. That's why I'm wearing my coat, but I'm also wearing my swag. So it's been fun. But yeah, real life, it's cold. It's cold. We're figuring this out. It's fall in Washington. It's chilly. But it's good times. Good times. I haven't had any kids come out yet. Except one came out about 5 minutes before the show went live, and I was like, don't come back out here while the show's live. All right, here we go. We got a question.
All right, we got a question.
Andy Gray, what do you think about the free release of the story before a launch, like a webtoon or a PDF, or putting the story out on what's DA? What am I missing here?
So he's saying DeviantArt is that final thing?
DeviantArt. I think that's DeviantArt. Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually recommend the inverse of it. That's what I'm doing is I actually have a lot of our content is going to be going up on Webtoon after it's released. The only exception to that is I have a Webtoon exclusive series called Errand of the Sable Knight. So like, Elysian Fields, for instance, the entire 0 issue is already up on Webtoon. Pyramid Gambit is just started releasing chapters on Webtoon as well. So like, I think that using that is a fantastic tool to build your audience, but I think that if you release it beforehand, you could potentially lose customers who will be like, oh, well, I've already read this. Why am I going to pay money for it? When I read it for free. And if you do it, additionally, especially given that one of the big appeals of crowdfunding is Premier Access, it could dissuade people from coming to back you, because the whole point is well, I'm getting that if I'm paying the money for this, I should be getting it ahead of everyone else. And so the way that I do it is I make sure that I don't start putting chapters up on a Webtoon until at least 6 months after I've fulfilled.
Right. And as we go forward, we've had that conversation. Talking about that streaming service is like, okay, how do I put up a platform where I want people to be successful, but I also don't want to undercut their ability to grow.
Exactly.
So it'll be fun. I think it's going to be a growing process to figure out how we're going to move in this new situation. It's definitely going to be interesting. But yeah, I'm just of the impression, and I'm sitting here teaching everyone, hey, let's learn Indiegogo, let's learn all this campaigning, and I'm like, I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's the right move for us in the long run if we want to dominate the community. The indie community is so strong and so great that we need to be uniting and not working for and not pulling back the same fans over and over again. I'd love to find a way. Well, hopefully my way is a successful way to sort of fix that problem. But yeah, man, it's working right now, and I hope all the success for everybody who's listening in and want to figure out a way to do it. Let's see here. We got another quote. We got Mario's asking a question. Here we go. Majority of big books today, from Western to manga, have become available free online via piracy. As an indie creator, what are your thoughts on this? If ever someone release your books for free, similar to the ones like Big Two and everyone else?
That's a very complicated question, because I think that, like, a lot of people, they end up using those things, and it's something that you don't think about until you are an indie creator. It's like, oh man, I'd be livid if somebody did this to my book. And it's one of those things where I from an indie stand, I realize that it's hypocritical, because I'm like, if somebody did that to my book, I'd be furious. But like, I know that I don't really care about people reading it for the Big Two or anything like that. And I think that the big reason for that is that the people at the Big Two are getting paid regardless of comic book sales. They get paid a salary and everything like that. When it comes down to me as an independent creator, if somebody does that, that is actively money out of my pocket personally.
Right. And that's where as the streaming service is built from Comics Cast, my number one thing that I thought of, and I know we've had that conversation, is how do I protect you guys and your IP so it doesn't get downloaded. So like the investment that I'm putting in, a large portion of that is software that protects things from being screen captured, downloaded in anything that you can think of. So they would literally have to take a picture of their camera or their phone or their iPad to be able to get this stuff. So it's a huge, it's the number one problem I think that indie guys can have, is if you want to put your best content, fully professional digital element out there, people are scared to do it. I mean, artists are afraid to put it out there without watermarking their stuff. So it's definitely something we need to look at as we keep moving forward in this sort of this digital playground that we're in.
Yeah. This is actually a fantastic question, because building the bridge between indie and local comic book stores, especially those of us that are using the crowdfunding platforms and what have you, is a question that's been on everybody's mind, because the local comic book stores have been so stringent to Diamond for years. And now, in the wake of the collapse of Diamond, effectively, there's now this whole question of, okay, so how do I get my books in stores at this point? Because like, they need the content. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I mean, if you've got the connections, check it out. And then, if your books sell well in their stores, they'll probably recommend other stores go get them, because those stores go to conventions as well to be with other retailers, and those guys talk. They have a network as well. So getting into one store and your book selling well there could lead you to others. I mean, you're talking about territory that is marginally unnavigated, especially from us lower tier guys outside of like our local community stores. So if you're able to get your books into those, and those are successful, like the question, the big question is will they vet your products to other stores that they know are looking for content to push as well?
Actually, this question has two parts that I'd like to be able to touch on with you as we get to the end of this. Is the Class of Diamond, what is the alternate for distribution? I don't think a lot of indie guys were using Diamond to begin with.
Exactly.
But what are you planning on doing? Like, who do you go through for your distribution of your books? And would you advise that to somebody else? I'm assuming you would.
We have a pre-launch page up for our Nine Realms catalog and Elysian Fields remaster right now. And one of the big things we're going to be doing on that is we have retailer tiers. And so I've been partnered up with Varian Grant and Randy Zimmerman's Liberty Distribution. Well, I guess that's really, it's Varian Grant's Liberty distribution. Randy is just a big supporter of it. But I've been with these guys for a hot minute. They have a network of retailers and what have you, and so that's who I'm using for my distribution to the stores. As far as distributing to customers directly, Saeed Sabah, if you are looking to if you're trying to find somebody to help distribute to your customers from a crowdfunding campaign, you need to get a hold of Critical Blast, because he's been doing a lot of really good deals for the international guys, where you guys effectively have the book shipped to him, and then he handles all of your domestic distribution, and you're paying domestic rates on shipping as opposed to international. So like that's a huge thing. But yeah, like it's a very difficult thing. International shipping was already expensive as hell before everything happened in the past year and a half, and now it's like double that. So it is definitely a difficult thing to overcome.
All right, so let's move to, how do you close out a campaign? How do you know that how do you close it out? And what happens after you've closed it to getting those books to the customers?
Closing a campaign is very much the same thing as opening it. You start to let people know that in a few weeks you're going to close. You establish a closing out schedule. That last week that you're closing out, you do the same thing that you did the first week, 2-3 streams a day minimum. And then you make sure that your final streams are big. Like you get on the biggest streams that you possibly can. And that's your closeout night. And then, Indiegogo, when you send in the notice to close out, it gives you an extra like 2-3 days after that. But like by that point, you should have generated it. That's where you generate the majority of that push.
Okay. Now, how do you what are we looking at? It's 12:03. Oh no, I lied. Okay, so we're gonna have to. I'm gonna let's do one final question, and then we'll close out the show. The past month, there's been a lot of backlash, and I like this question because we can kind of play with it a little bit. A lot of changes made in the Big Two. I think it's been slowly building, but Roy's on point in terms of their titles and character IPs. How do you see this affecting the indie community, and what does the future look like for indie creators? I'm gonna put my 2 cents in there, and then you can go as far as you want. I think the issue with it is right now, and you're talking about quote unquote backlash. What we see in the indie community is new characters. We see new creative teams building new characters, and what you're seeing from readers is they gravitate to those characters no matter what they are, race, sexuality, doesn't matter. Nobody cares. What they care about is good stories, good art, and the passion behind the creators. That's what matters. And what you're seeing from the Big Two potentially is, instead of making the new characters, you're seeing IPs that have already been made by other people, and then they're getting adjusted. And I think that's where the backlash comes from. I don't think it's going to affect the indie community, because the indie communities, I would like to think, as far as diversity goes, is miles ahead of where the Big Two are.
100%.
So many people are making the comics, and they're making them that people that look like them, people that relate to them. And the fans are eating it up because we just want good stories and good characters. And I think the indie community is where it's at with that.
It's not big.
Yeah, no, I think that you hit the nail on the head. This is one of the big advantages of being an indie creator, where you either own your characters or using characters that are in the public domain that you are able to reinterpret in your own vision. And so there are so many more elements of artistry in that, because you are able to go create these things. And it's not like somebody can be like, oh, well, you're just trying to push this, that, or the other. I mean, it's your character. You're telling the story you want to tell.
Of course, it freezes
but
up.
when it comes down to the Big Two and what's been going on as Joe said, is these are characters that have existed for the most part for a very long period of time with established traditions, established established stories that people grew to know them by, and now these things are changing like a flip of a switch. And that's what's been frustrating, is that this has all been done in the name of something that is good, but it's being done in a way that that doesn't feel genuine, and that actively feels like they have abused their role as caretakers of IPs that are not their own.
Bingo. All right. I'm going to leave it alone at that. I'm not going to say anything more than, if you think that Mike is maybe, not liking certain things, just read his first book. If you don't think that it's that, it's not that. It's just make it with your own stuff. Make new characters. So absolutely love that. I love what you did with the first book. Like, and what I need is, this wall back here, this wall needs artwork on it, man. I'm just saying. All right, moving on.
What artwork do you want from me?
What I would like is I need to either purchase it or talk to you about getting that poster. I still don't have the poster that I worked on. I want the poster on my wall that I
got you, man. I'll make sure that we get I'll figure that out. I think I've got a few of those left, and if I do, I'll make sure that when I send out your Embrace that it gets there to you.
All right, awesome, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, we did a poster together for the first campaign.
Pyramid Gambit.
Gambit, yeah.
That it was a fantastic poster too. Really good stuff.
Yeah. So all right. So one final question, a minute or left answer, then we'll close it up. You're done with the campaign, you've put in the work, you've gone and talked on all the shows, you've been able to communicate with others, you've put yourself out there, you've built your website. You know who you're publishing with. You know who you're publishing, but you know who you're going through for the printer. You know who you're sending out the stuff, who's going to be shipping it, right?
Yeah.
How do you ensure that it's done? How do you ensure that you close out and the buyers have it in their hand and it is, they're reading the book that they paid for and it hasn't been 8 months?
Well, I use pirateship.com for a lot of my shipping. This is going to be the first time that I'm using an actual distributor, though. So there's going to be a lot of me pestering the distributor. Just be like, hey, so are the books out yet? Because that's quite possibly the most stressful thing of a campaign is the fulfillment to me, because it's very tedious work getting the books out. And then you're just literally staring at shipping information, praying that everything gets to where it's supposed to go. All right. Especially for the international books. So that's effectively all you can do is just keep tracking shipping information. And, if you have personal connections with a customer and you can just hit them up on the fly and be like, hey, so it says your book was delivered. Did it get to you?
Right.
That's literally the best you can do sometimes is just, I don't want to say pester, but you go out there and you're looking at your tracking information, says, well, it says it was delivered. Please let me know. So that way I can go crying to my pillow if it's not there and get you another one.
Yeah. And if you guys are fans of people that are putting books out, man, reach out to them. They're not monoliths of human beings. Like they want to talk to you. Like it's okay to reach out to someone who's like, man, I loved your artwork. I can't wait for your book. Yeah. Hey, it's been a month or so. You'll reach out, talk to them. They'll be like, hey, I'm printing right now. Or hey, it was sent out like a week ago.
So important. I've had a few people commenting on the Embrace, like, hey, so did I miss the book being shipped? And I'm just going, no. We had some issues at the printer. I didn't want to do an update until we had the print pretty much done. And so now that the print is pretty much done, I've been going around and letting people know.
Right. And the two of us are busy bouncing around doing other things. I forgot I'd even purchased Embrace. I was like, did I get Embrace? I don't have it. Like,
yeah, no, you did. You were a day one backer.
Oh yeah, I think we had you on the show, and I backed it while we were on the show. I don't remember, but yeah,
something like that.
Something like that. But okay, all right. So that being done, thank you very much for being on the process with us. I think this helped a lot of people. I think a lot of people had good questions. If you have other questions, put it in the art show. I'll put a question up for anybody who wants to ask any more questions. Just go to Facebook Art Show. It's an art show group. It's connected to Comics Cast. Ask the question there. I'll shoot it over to Mike, or Mike can answer the question if he has time. We'll get your questions answered. You got, let's say, a week or so. I don't want to have this thing running forever. You know what I mean?
Just in perpetuity.
Yeah, it'll be like 2 months from now. Answer questions, Mike. They're still here. You know, we'll just do another show. But yeah, so good times. I want to say the next process show, I have a pretty big name I'd like to get on, but I don't want to promise anything. I hope to put out the information next maybe Wednesday. We'll get out the next information. Comics Cast will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with Gerald. Gerald will be returned. He will do his show. Let it out. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be with Comic Book School. I think they're called Comic Book School. I'm a terrible host. But they're amazing people. We've had them on a few times. They're great, and they've got a lot of good publication. And their process is just really freaking cool. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll be on the show. I'll be on a call that I have to make for marketing for Comics Cast. So I was lucky enough to have somebody that is looking out for us and just giving us some free advice. So I'll be on a call, but I will be watching it on the some from the rearview mirror or whatever I'm doing. So that being said, thank you very much for being on the show, Mike. I want you to make sure that you go full screen, and if you didn't see the show last week, you have to have your camera on, and that's okay. And all right, so make sure you're looking right at the camera when you do this.
Okay.
Right? And then you're going to say, I'm Mike Oden from Nine Rails Publishing, and you just got processed. Or, yeah, you've just been processed. So,
okay.
All right, so let me get off. I'm going to remove myself, and then after you do that, I will kick in the closeout. Thank you guys for everyone who watched. It was a fun show, and we'll see you again next Saturday. Tune in tomorrow for the Sunday Let It Out show. And again, this is Joe Tolliver. I'm out. Thanks. Nine Realms Publishing, Mike Oden.
This is Michael Oden from Nine Realms Publishing, and you have been processed.